Imagine for a moment that you have a beautiful vision in your heart, a scene so vivid you can almost taste its sweetness. Yet when you close your eyes, the details blur like a watercolor left in the rain. You know what you want, but the picture remains faint, leaving your mind to drift from one half-formed idea to the next. I felt that same tug of frustration, staring at the blank canvas of my imagination and wondering why my desires seemed to slip through my mental fingers. The truth is, without a razor-sharp image to hold on to, your subconscious never receives a clear blueprint to build from, and your dreams remain suspended in a space without form. I remember early on feeling adrift, as if I were wandering a vast, misty moor, with no path to guide me. I would sketch out my goals in broad strokes. I want success. I want abundance. I want love. But these generalities failed to stir anything deep within me. It was like asking an artist to paint a masterpiece with only the vaguest of instructions. Over time, I discovered that the mind craves specificity. It needs a detailed script in order to play its part. Once I learned to see my goal as a precise, living scene, everything began to shift. Begin by choosing one single objective and zoom in as though you're setting up a camera lens. What does the room look like? Are you seated at a polished oak desk, its surface gleaming in the late afternoon sun? Can you hear the soft click of a pen as you sign an important contract, or the gentle hum of conversation in a nearby cafe where you're sealing a partnership? Notice the scent in the air. Perhaps the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingles with the subtle perfume of blossoms on a windowsill. Allow your imagination to wander through every corner of that scene, pulling into focus the textures, the sounds, the emotions that accompany your success. As you cultivate this level of detail, you activate a powerful connection between your conscious intention and your subconscious resourcefulness. Your deeper mind doesn't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and one taking place in the physical world. It registers the sensory data you supply and begins to orchestrate circumstances that match. To strengthen this signal, involve all five senses. Feel the smoothness of the leather beneath your fingertips. Taste the sweetness of victory like champagne on your tongue. Hear the applause or the heartfelt congratulations of those around you. The more senses you engage, the richer and more convincing your inner performance becomes. But clarity alone isn't enough. You must also make this inner movie emotionally compelling. When you watch a favorite film, you're drawn in by the character's feelings as much as by the plot. In the same way, your imagined scene must stir genuine emotion within you. As you paint your goal, ask yourself, how does it feel to live this reality? Do you swell with pride, relief, or gratitude? Does your heart flutter with excitement? Allow yourself to fully experience those emotions as if they're happening right now. That heartfelt energy gives weight to your vision and ensures your subconscious will treat it as a priority rather than a fleeting daydream. To build this practice into your daily life, set aside a quiet moment each morning or evening for what I call a fulfillment rehearsal. Choose a comfortable chair or lie down, close your eyes, and invite your mind onto the stage you've created. Spend at least 3 to 5 minutes immersing yourself in every detail, feeding the scene with both sensory richness and genuine feeling. If stray thoughts intrude, acknowledge them gently and return your attention to the unfolding vision. Like tuning a musical instrument, this exercise fine-tunes your inner awareness to the exact frequency of your desire. Distractions and mental clutter are natural obstacles. Years of unfocused thinking don't vanish overnight. When you notice your mind drifting or the image fading, pause and breathe. Anchor yourself by repeating a concise affirmation that captures the essence of your scene. For example, I am signing that agreement, or I am celebrating my new partnership. That brief phrase acts as a tether, pulling your awareness back into alignment with the detailed picture you've painted. Over time, your subconscious will learn to recognize and maintain that focus even in the face of daily demands. Whenever doubt or hesitation surfaces, is this really possible, or maybe I'm not ready, return immediately to your detailed image. See it, feel it, know it. Let the solidity of your inner movie dissolve any lingering uncertainty. Each time you reinforce the clarity of your vision in this way, you're telling your deeper mind that this goal is non-negotiable and it will marshal every resource it has to bring your imagined scene into reality. By dedicating yourself to this vivid, emotion-charged visualization, you establish an unbreakable contract between your conscious intention and the creative power within. The details you supply act like a magnet, drawing the people, opportunities, and insights you need into your life. Remember that every moment spent refining your mental image is an investment in the foundation upon which your future will be built. Keep the scene alive, keep it precise, and watch how the once vague outlines of your desires begin to crystallize into the world you truly wish to inhabit. Have you ever tried to summon a vision so vivid in your mind that it felt within reach, only to watch it drift away like a wisp of smoke the moment you rested it on doubt? I've stood in that very place, heart swelling with possibility, yet hands empty of manifestation. I learned the hard way that imagination alone, without genuine feeling, is like a ship without wind. It drifts aimlessly. To truly anchor your dreams in reality, you must pour sincere emotion into every detail you conceive, transforming mere thought into a living, magnetic force. When you imagine a future event, your conscious mind sketches the outlines, but it's your feeling, the emotional charge you supply, that fuels the building process in your deeper awareness. Think of feeling as the currency of creation. A thought without emotion is like a check without funds. It bounces on the banks of the subconscious. In contrast, a richly felt scene carries unbreakable credit, compelling your hidden powers to honor and deliver what you've already paid for in the treasury of your heart. It helps to distinguish between intellectual assent and heartfelt conviction. You might nod and say, "Yes, I want this outcome," but if your mind remains emotionally aloof, the request goes in without invitation. We all know what it's like to smile politely while feeling cold inside. That polite smile won't warm you up. Only genuine heat will. Likewise, your imagination must radiate the warmth of emotion, joy, gratitude, awe, so that your deeper self recognizes the scene as already real and begins to arrange the outer circumstances accordingly. So how do you awaken true feeling? Begin by recalling an experience in which you felt the very emotion you seek. If you want to manifest success, remember a moment when you triumphed, however small, perhaps the first time you mastered a skill or received unexpected praise. Let that memory flood your senses, hear the applause, feel your chest swell, taste the sweetness of victory. Once you've reacquainted yourself with that feeling, gently transfer it onto your imagined future. Your mind will blend the two, granting your vision the authentic charge it needs to pull your dreams forward through time. Next, build sensory bridges in your imagination to cement the emotional state. If you envision signing that contract that changes everything, picture the texture of the pen in your hand, the crisp rustle of paper, even the scent of ink mingling with polished wood. As you breathe these details in, let a grateful smile soften your lips. Let your pulse quicken in happy anticipation. By layering sensory input, sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, with genuine emotion, you create a multi-sensory tapestry that your subconscious cannot resist weaving into form. There will be moments when the feeling feels forced, when doubt creeps in and reduces your inner performance to a hollow echo. In those times, pause and practice a simple affirmation that revives your emotion. Whisper to yourself, "I feel this now," or "I am grateful," as if it's already here. Those few words act like kindling on a fire that has dimmed. They don't exist to persuade your rational mind. They serve to rekindle the wholehearted sensation that ignites creative power. Be patient with yourself when negative emotions arise, fear, impatience, or sadness. These are old patterns flaring up to remind you of their lingering grip. When they surface, acknowledge them without judgment. "I see you, old friend, but I choose to focus elsewhere. Then pivot your attention back to the enriched scene, feeding it fresh emotion. Over time, the old patterns lose their hold, and the feeling you plant gains dominance in your inner theater. Consistency is your ally. Carve out a brief daily ritual, perhaps a dawn or twilight, to step backstage in the silent theater of your mind. Close your eyes, settle into stillness, and replay your perfected scene, feeling every nuance as though you're living it all over again. Let your body respond, the quickened breath, the relaxed shoulders, the rising warmth in your chest, as confirmation that inside, the world you're imagining is already unfolding. This daily rehearsal trains your subconscious to expect and prepare for that reality. As you strengthen this practice, you'll notice subtle shifts in the outer world. Doors opening, conversations taking unexpected turns, resources appearing when you least expect them. These are the silent acknowledgments of your deeper self, responding to the emotional blueprints you've provided. In this way, feeling becomes the magnet drawing circumstance toward you, bridging the silent gap between desire and manifestation. Remain faithful to the sensation of fulfillment, no matter how slow the unfolding seems, and watch how the unseen tide gradually carries your dream into the realm of form. Have you ever spoken words of confidence, declaring, "I am worthy of abundance," only to feel a whisper of doubt tugging at your certainty? In that moment, two voices collide, one that champions your dream and another that clings to old fears. This inner conflict is like driving with one foot on the accelerator and the other on the brake. No matter how loudly you proclaim your destination, the opposing force within keeps you stalled at the curb. Deep beneath your conscious declarations lie beliefs you may not even know you hold. Perhaps you've grown up hearing that money doesn't grow on trees, or that lucky people are the exception. On the surface, you assert your right to prosperity, but in the privacy of your mind, an unworthy child still trembles at the thought of excess. These buried convictions act like roots beneath a storm-tossed sea, anchoring you in old soil even as you reach for fresh growth. The first step to freedom is discovery. Begin by listening to the subtle language of your thoughts. Notice the sentences that slip in uninvited. I don't deserve this. It's too good to be true. If I gain this, I'll lose that. Write them down without judgment. Treat each as a curious clue rather than a confession of failure. Over time, patterns will emerge, recurrent themes that reveal the underlying script your subconscious is running. This nightly inventory, taken in the stillness before sleep, shines a gentle light into the dark corners of your mind. Once you've brought these hidden beliefs into the open, you can begin the art of gentle revision. Picture each old conviction as a page in a storybook you're ready to rewrite. See yourself taking the page out, crossing out the fear-laden words, and inscribing a new sentence that supports your chosen identity. For example, if the inner voice whispers, "I'm not smart enough," replace it with, "I grow wiser every day and learn from every experience." As you write or speak this new line, feel the shift in your chest. Let relief and hope swell in place of tension. But revision is more than replacing words on paper. It's a living practice. In waking life, become a compassionate detective of your internal dialogue. When a negative thought surfaces, pause and ask, "Where did I learn this? Does it serve me now?" Then consciously choose to feed your mind with an alternative truth. You might say to yourself, "I release the fear of failure," followed immediately by, "I embrace each outcome as a lesson that brings me closer to success." By weaving these positive assertions into the fabric of your everyday thoughts, you starve the old beliefs of attention and breathe life into the new. To deepen this transformation, enlist your emotions as allies. It's one thing to repeat a statement. It's another to feel it. As you affirm your new belief, "I am deserving of every blessing," allow gratitude to wash over you. Imagine clasping the very thing you once thought beyond reach, and let joy pulse through your body. When emotion and intention unite, they act like twin engines powering your creative endeavor. Without that emotional charge, affirmations remain lifeless echoes. With it, they become commands that resonate through every level of your being. Consistency breeds conviction. Design a simple evening ritual. Light a candle, sit quietly with your list of revised beliefs, and read them aloud as though you're speaking to a dear friend. Visualize each statement as already true. See yourself living, breathing, and celebrating that reality. If old doubts rise, greet them kindly. I see you, I understand your origin, but now we choose a new story. And then return to the affirmations. For nights and weeks, you'll notice the old resistance growing faint, replaced by a steady hum of confidence. Gradually, this inner realignment will ripple outward. You'll find opportunities appearing that once seemed impossible, a mentor reaching out, an unexpected solution surfacing, a door unlocking at just the right moment. These are the echoes of your revised beliefs taking form. Remember that change is rarely explosive. More often it unfolds like dawn, first in a pale glow, then in full light. Stay patient and attentive to these small signs, for they are proof that your subconscious is now in harmony with your conscious intention. Above all, treat yourself with kindness throughout this process. Rooting out deep-seated beliefs can feel like excavating a hidden past, at times unsettling, even painful, but each discovery is a gift, offering you the chance to step into a freer, more empowered version of yourself. Celebrate every small victory, a day unmarred by self-doubt, a moment of genuine belief in your own worth, a decision made from clarity rather than old fear. These are the milestones of your inner journey. In this gentle revolution of the mind, you become both artist and canvas, rewriting the script until only the story of your unfolding success remains. As your inner voices unite behind a shared vision of worthiness and triumph, you'll find that the external world can no longer resist the momentum you've summoned. The brakes slip off, and at last you move forward, carried by the full force of your aligned belief. Have you ever found your dreams haunted by echoes of yesterday, old regrets replaying in your mind like scratched vinyl, scratching away at your confidence and muddying the clarity of your vision? I've stood in that place too, lying awake as memories of unmet expectations and unspoken words refused to let me rest. It wasn't the future that held me back, but the unfinished stories I carried with me into each new day. When past disappointments remain unprocessed, they fester in the depths of your imagination and seep into every fresh intention you nurture. To truly clear the slate for new creations, you must become an artist of your own history, revising yesterday's scenes until they support, rather than sabotage, the reality you intend to live. Begin by recognizing that every moment you experience becomes part of the tapestry of your consciousness. A casual remark that stung, a missed opportunity, or an outcome you wished had gone differently. All these events imprint themselves on your subconscious. Left unattended, they act like roots tangled beneath the soil of your mind, drawing nourishment from your energy and diverting it away from the fresh seeds of possibility. You might wake each morning with a sense of eagerness, only to feel that spark dim as the days-old narratives rise without warning. This silent sabotage often goes unnoticed because we tend to think of the past as closed and the present as separate. Yet in truth, every moment you've lived is wired into the subconscious machinery that shapes your present experience. The practice of revision offers a simple yet profound remedy. Revision is the intentional reimagining of any scene from your past that left you with a sense of lack, discomfort, or regret. Rather than burying those moments in silent shame or frustration, you consciously revisit them in your imagination and allow them to unfold as you would have preferred, complete with the emotions, words, and outcomes you wish had occurred. By doing so, you replace half-finished stories with polished conclusions that feed your subconscious mind with signals of hope and completion instead of anxiety and doubt. To put revision into action, choose a quiet time each evening, preferably just before sleep, when your conscious guard is down and your mind is most receptive. Settle into a comfortable position, close your eyes, and take a few slow, grounding breaths. Allow your awareness to drift back to a specific event from your day, perhaps a conversation that felt awkward, a moment when you hesitated instead of speaking up, or a small failure that pricked your pride. Don't shy away from the discomfort. Bring the scene fully into view, as though you were watching a familiar film. Notice the people involved, the setting, the words exchanged, every detail that made the memory vivid. Once the scene is clear, pause and imagine watching it play out again. But this time, become the director. Alter the narrative so it ends triumphantly, or at least peacefully. If you stumbled over your words, picture yourself speaking with calm confidence, expressing exactly what you intended. If you felt rejected, imagine receiving a warm response that honors your worth. Give the scene a generous dose of feeling, sense the relief, pride, or joy that would accompany this in this revised version. Allow yourself to linger in the positive emotions, tasting them fully as though they had happened in the physical world. As you replay the improved scene, engage all your senses. Feel the texture of the chair beneath you as you speak. Hear the appreciative murmur of nodding heads or encouraging applause. Notice the comforting scent of the room or the warmth of sunlight on your skin. When thought and emotion merge in this multi-sensory tapestry, you send a powerful message to your subconscious. Here is a completed story, rich with positive resonance, worthy of being woven into the fabric of your reality. You're not fabricating a fairy tale. You're correcting the record, aligning your inner world with the creative power you hold. It's natural for remnants of old pain to flicker through your awareness during revision. If doubt or shame creeps in, "This never happened. I don't deserve this happy ending," simply acknowledge the thought, then refocus on the scene as you've now envisioned it. Gently remind yourself that what you're practicing is not avoidance, but transformation. You're not erasing history, you're reauthoring it in a way that liberates your energy and redirects it toward the fulfillment you seek. Over time, these new endings will replace the old triggers, and the previous discomfort will lose its grip on your attention. The power of revision compounds with consistency. Each night you devote yourself to this inner work, you clear fresh space for new ideas and desires to take root. Think of your subconscious as a garden bed. If you till and amend the soil every evening, you ensure that tomorrow's seeds sprout in a fertile environment. Without that nightly cultivation, weeds of fear and doubt can choke out even the most carefully planted intentions. By contrast, a well-tended mind remains open and receptive, effortlessly channeling the imaginative impulses that lead to creation. Beyond individual scenes, you can apply revision to broader narratives that span years. If there's a story you've carried about yourself, "I'm not creative enough," "I always fail in relationships," or "I'm too old to start anew," bring those beliefs into the revision process. Identify specific experiences that fed the narrative, then reimagine them with you acting from confidence, creativity, and self-love. As you weave these improved threads into the tapestry of your subconscious, you gradually unravel the limiting stories and replace them with empowering alternatives that support your growth and joy. Real-world change often follows swiftly once your inner landscape is cleared. You may notice that the people you once found challenging begin to respond differently, or that ideas and opportunities you'd long overlooked suddenly catch your eye. These shifts are the silent acknowledgments of the revised scripts playing out within. Trust that the new endings you've rehearsed aren't pipe dreams, but seeds sprouting unseen roots, ready to emerge in tangible form. Ultimately, the practice of revision is an act of compassion toward yourself. It recognizes that you, like every human being, carry wounds and regrets, and offers a path to heal them through imagination. By lovingly rescripting your past, you empower yourself to step fully into the present, unburdened by yesterday's shadows. As you make revision a cherished nightly ritual, you'll find your mind growing lighter, your intentions stronger, and your belief in possibility expanding beyond anything you once thought possible. To start, let's delve into the idea of a poor mental diet. You see, our minds are just like our bodies. What we feed them has a significant impact on how we feel and how we act. If we regularly consume negative and fear-driven information, news stories, gossip, or even social media banter, We essentially flood our minds with forces that are opposing our growth and well-being. When faced with these contrary impulses, we begin to spiral, absorbing energies that aren't aligned with our natural desires for peace and happiness. Instead, these thoughts and images create dissonance, pulling us further from the path we seek to walk. Being careful of what our minds consume, just as we monitor our physical diet, is essential. When we're exposed to negativity, it imprints on the subconscious, leading to fear, stress, and uncertainty. The brain doesn't distinguish between external stimuli and internal thoughts. As a result, excess negativity weakens our capacity to focus on the positive, to manifest our dreams. It can distort our outlook on life, creating a mind that is overwhelmed with chaos rather than clarity. Perhaps the most powerful way to overcome such disruption is through the cultivation of self-awareness. Once we realize that we have control over what we intake mentally, much like knowing we can choose healthy food over junk food, we can make conscious decisions on what we feed our minds. Changing this diet requires vigilance, but more importantly, it involves intentionally filling our mental space with content that nurtures growth, joy, and calmness. Imagine choosing thoughts that energize the soul, just as you. Imagine waking each morning to a steady drip of anxiety-laden headlines and the buzz of fearful chatter, as if your mind were a sponge soaking up every drop of worry the world offers. I remember a time when I greeted each sunrise by scrolling through a tidal wave of negative news, political strife, economic gloom, personal tragedies, until my heart felt heavy and my vision clouded. I believed that staying informed was my civic duty, but in truth I was feeding my inner landscape poisonous thoughts that uprooted my creative energy. It was only when I likened my mind to a garden that I realized the stakes. Just as a plot of earth choked on weeds if untended, so too would my consciousness become overrun by fear unless I cultivated a healthier mental diet. A mental diet is composed of the ideas, stories, and impressions we choose to consume. Every article, conversation, or video we allow into our awareness carries a vibration, some uplifting and nourishing, others draining and disempowering. When your daily intake tilts toward the latter, you inadvertently flood your subconscious with contrary impulses, making it nearly impossible to sustain a clear image of what you truly desire. Think of it this way. If you ate nothing but junk food, you'd eventually feel sluggish, lacking the physical vitality to pursue your goals. In the same way, if your mind ingests sensational headlines and fear-based gossip, your creative power languishes, starved for optimism and possibility. Curating your mental menu begins with awareness. Take note of the moments you reach for your phone or open a browser tab. What are you seeking? Is it the comfort of familiar outrage or the promise of uplifting insight? I discovered that I often craved the adrenaline hit of scandalous headlines, mistaking it for engagement. But that kind of stimulation left me exhausted and disconnected from my inner compass. To change course, I started asking a simple question before clicking. Will this feed my vision or drain it? That pause, no longer than a heartbeat, became the pivot point between disempowerment and conscious choice. Next, set clear boundaries around your media consumption. Decide that you will check news updates only once in the morning and once in the evening for a limited time, say 15 minutes each. Outside those windows, steer clear of doom scrolling. Replace those idle moments with activities that nurture your mind. Read a chapter from an inspiring biography. Listen to a podcast that delves into creative problem solving, or engage in a brief guided meditation that reinforces gratitude and possibility. Over time, these new habits flood your awareness with positive fuel, crowding out the negative residues that once dominated your thought. Conversations are another corner of your diet that demand curation. We often underestimate the weight of small talk, gossip, and venting sessions. While it's natural to commiserate with friends or colleagues, habitual complaining can become a banquet of negativity, reinforcing beliefs of scarcity or misfortune. I began gently steering dialogues toward constructive topics, sharing ideas for personal growth, celebrating small victories or brainstorming solutions to common challenges. When others lapsed into complaint, I listened with compassion, but then offered a fresh perspective. How might we turn this around? Or, what's one small step we could take right now? In doing so, I found that I could honor someone's frustration without becoming entangled in it myself. The books and media you choose to explore wield tremendous influence over your subconscious programming. If you're seeking to manifest abundance, seek out stories of resilience and triumph, memoirs of individuals who overcame adversity, essays on groundbreaking discoveries, or even novels that paint vivid portraits of human courage. Let your mind feast on narratives that demonstrate creative possibility. When you immerse yourself in tales of inventors who solved impossible problems or artists who transformed pain into beauty, you internalize a template for your own breakthroughs. Visual content and social media also deserve mindful selection. The algorithms behind these platforms are designed to keep you engaged, often by feeding you progressively more sensational or divisive material. To reclaim your mental space, curate your follow lists. Unfollow or mute accounts that thrive on negativity and seek out creators who uplift, educate, or inspire. Create a separate feed of beautiful images, nature photography, abstract art, or humorous sketches that evoke joy, wonder, and curiosity. Each scroll then becomes an opportunity to recharge your imagination rather than drain it. It's also crucial to balance intake with creative outflow. Reflection exercises such as journaling allow you to digest the ideas you've consumed and transform them into personal insights. At the close of each day, jot down 3 things you appreciated, 3 lessons you learned, and 1 creative idea you want to explore tomorrow. This simple practice turns passive consumption into active co-creation. Your mental diet thus becomes not only about what you take in, but also about how you process and contribute new value back to your inner world. As you refine your mental menu, notice the subtle shifts in your energy and clarity. You may awaken with a lightness you haven't felt in years, as if the fog of collective pessimism has lifted. Decisions that once felt fraught become clearer because your mind is free from the clutter of competing narratives. Opportunities begin to surface, ideas for projects, invitations to collaborate, glimpses of solutions you might have otherwise missed. These are the fruits of a garden, well nourished, where the seeds of your deepest desires can finally sprout. Remember that curating your mental diet is an ongoing practice, not a one-time fix. The world will always present a mix of uplifting and unsettling information. Your task is not to retreat into naivete, but to engage with the world from a place of grounded optimism. You can remain informed without being overwhelmed, compassionate without being consumed. By choosing each thought and impression with intention, you protect the integrity of your creative field and ensure that every idea you imagine carries the fertile energy needed to become real. Have you ever felt your heart race with excitement at the mere thought of your dream unfolding, only to have that thrill sour into frustration when days go by with no visible sign of change? I remember pacing my living room, journal in hand, checking and rechecking the same imagined scene, as though my persistence alone might force it into being that very moment. Yet each glance around at unchanged walls, the same familiar furniture, whispered a discouraging question. Is this ever actually going to happen? In that restless space between desire and fulfillment, impatience and doubt build a bridge to nowhere, threatening to collapse the entire journey before it truly begins. Impatience is the inner voice that hurries you past the subtle cues life sends in response to your imagining. It says, "Why wait another minute for what I clearly want?" Doubt sneaks in like a shadow behind that voice, murmuring, "Maybe it wasn't meant for me," or "Perhaps my vision is too grand." Together they form a pair of silent saboteurs, undermining the very process you set in motion. When you harbor these emotions, your subconscious hears mixed signals. On one hand, you call for your dream. On the other, you doubt its arrival, so it hesitates, unsure which command to honor. To tame impatience, first shine a gentle light on it. Notice when your thoughts drift from, "I am living my desired life," to, "How long must I wait?" or, "Maybe this isn't real." Rather than chastising yourself for these interruptions, greet them curiously as you would a child asking an uncomfortable question. Acknowledge there you are again, and then return your mind with kindness to the felt sense of fulfillment you've imagined. Each time you catch impatience at the door, you strengthen your capacity to remain anchored in possibility rather than victim to uncertainty. Doubt often thrives in the silent spaces between your daily imaginal acts. If you visualize only sporadically, gaps emerge where worry can creep in. That's why building a steady routine of rehearsal is crucial. Choose specific moments, perhaps dawn's first light or the quiet pause before sleep, to immerse yourself fully in your inner scene. Spend at least 5 minutes feeling the emotions, sensing the details, and reminding yourself that this reality is already yours in the realm of the unseen. Over time, these regular touch points weave a sturdy thread of faith that holds your attention firmly to the outcome you desire. Alongside scheduled rehearsals, cultivate small tokens of trust throughout your day. When you notice even the tiniest synchronicity, an encouraging word from a friend, an idea that solves a lingering problem, or a subtle shift in mood, pause and feel genuine gratitude. Treat these moments as proof that the mechanism of imagination is actively working behind the scenes. By celebrating these whisperings of progress, you fan the flame of confidence, making it ever more difficult for doubt to snuff out your inner flame. Each acknowledgement becomes a stepping stone across the river of uncertainty. Persistence is not a grueling marathon, but rather the gentle cadence of returning again and again to the feeling of fulfillment. Think of it as watering a tender plant. Too little and it withers. Too much haste and you flood its roots. Instead, offer your attention consistently with patience and balance. Let each rehearsal reaffirm your intention, and let each moment of doubt be met with a compassionate redirection back to your vision. In this measured dance between anticipation and rest, you build an unshakable trust in the creative process. And gradually, as unseen forces align, your dream emerges from the silent world of imagination into the daylight of reality. Imagine waking each morning and stepping into your day as though the very dream you cherish has already unfolded. Speaking, moving, and breathing from that place of fulfillment rather than from a sense of longing. When you hold yourself to the future version of your life, you send a powerful signal to every fiber of your being. This is not a distant fantasy, but your present reality. Yet most of us drift through our routines as if our goals were still miles away, juggling chores, conversations, and tasks with little thought for the version of ourselves we intend to become. In those moments, our outer world mirrors our inner expectancy, showing us the same patterns of limitation we're attempting to transcend. Every action you take, no matter how small, communicates to your deeper self whether you are already living your desire or still waiting for it to arrive. If you chat about your goal as though it's a someday plan, "When I finally have that promotion, I'll feel confident," your subconscious hears a delayed timeline and responds by organizing your life around the present circumstances, reinforcing the sense of not yet. But when you catch yourself speaking in future tense and gently shift to the present, "I am succeeding in my new role, and confidence guides my every step," you create unity between your conscious intention and subconscious programming. Behaviors born from lack often look the same: hesitating to take bold steps, shrinking back from opportunities, or choosing safety over excitement. These decisions feel natural because they're supported by an underlying belief that fulfillment is somewhere just beyond reach. To rewrite this script, begin by observing your daily choices. Notice the moments you play small. Perhaps you decline an invitation because you assume you're not welcome, or you delay starting a project because you believe you lack the skills. In each instance, pause and ask yourself, How would the person who already has everything I desire respond? Then, act from that perspective. Accept the invitation, begin the project, and let your actions speak as though success is your birthright. Embodiment goes beyond mere thought. It reaches into posture, tone of voice, and the rhythms of your day. When you imagine yourself thriving, sense the ease in your shoulders, the steadiness of your gaze, and the cadence of your speech. Practice holding your head high even when you're alone, smiling at your reflection as if greeting an old friend who has finally arrived. These seemingly small physical adjustments reinforce the story you're telling yourself internally. I am already here. Over time, your body memorizes this state, and the alignment between mind and form becomes seamless. Language shapes reality. Notice the verbs and pronouns you choose. If you say, I will do this, replace it with, I am doing this. If you catch yourself saying, someday I'll, correct it to I now. This shift may feel awkward at first, as if you're speaking a new language, but each correction rewrites the neural pathways that govern expectation. Language is the bridge between thought and world. By using the present tense, you carry the vibration of accomplishment into every corner of your psyche. Real-world resistance will emerge, moments when circumstances appear to contradict your inner state. Perhaps a meeting is postponed, an email goes unanswered, or your finances feel tight. Rather than treating these events as proof that your dream remains distant, view them as neutral data points. Keep your focus on the inner experience you've rehearsed. Smile inwardly at the unfolding scene of your imagination, and remind yourself that the invisible work you do within always precedes the visible manifestation without. This patient steadfastness is the hallmark of living in the end, trusting that outer conditions must eventually align with the reality you've embraced internally. Surroundings and relationships respond naturally to the energy you radiate. When you walk into a room carrying the confidence of someone who has already achieved their heart's desire, people lean in, opportunities present themselves, and doors seem to open with less friction. You'll notice colleagues offering help, friends speaking to you with fresh respect, and even strangers smiling in recognition of your inner light. These external echoes serve as gentle reminders that your practice of embodiment is effective, that as you reshape your inner world, the outer world follows suit. To weave this practice into everyday life, choose a few understated rituals. Perhaps begin each morning by standing at your window, closing your eyes, and affirming silently, I am living this day as though my dreams are already fulfilled. Or at your desk, place a small object, a crystal, a photograph, a quote card that reminds you to adopt end-state awareness whenever your gaze lands on it. Let these cues act like friendly taps on the shoulder, guiding you back to the posture, language, and feeling of your desired reality throughout the day. In embracing this approach, you transform waiting into active living. You no longer defer happiness or fulfillment until some future milestone. Instead, you learn to inhabit the essence of your goal in the present moment, treating each breath as a gift from the accomplished self within. As you practice this art of living, in the end, you'll discover that the distance between imagination and reality shrinks with every intentional word, gesture, and thought, until one day you awaken to the realization that the world around you has finally caught up with the world you've already created inside. Picture a gardener who waters a newly planted seed only once in a while, trusting that sporadic drizzles will nurture a thriving bloom. Yet when weeks pass, the earth hardens, the fragile sprout never breaks through, and wonder turns to regret. In the same way, the gentle power of imagination, your internal garden of creation, requires consistent nourishment to flourish. If you allow days or even hours to slip by without returning to your inner scene, the spark you ignited begins to flicker, and the momentum of manifestation slows to a crawl. I remember a time when I approached visualization like a weekend hobby, a burst of enthusiasm on Sunday evenings, followed by weeks of neglect. I would close my eyes and paint a beautiful picture of success, only to open them and slip back into routine, convinced that one grand rehearsal would suffice. But life isn't so forgiving. Just as muscles weaken without regular exercise, the imaginative faculty loses its tone when left idle. I learned the hard way that growth isn't measured in grand gestures, but in steady, daily commitment. To build creative momentum, choose a brief, manageable block of time each day, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, or even 3. The key isn't the duration, but the devotion. When you sit or lie down in that sacred window, make it a ritual, perhaps lighting a candle, closing your eyes, or placing a comforting object nearby. These small cues signal to your subconscious that it's time to step onto the stage of your inner world. Over time, your mind learns to anticipate these moments, slipping effortlessly into a focused and receptive state. During your daily session, engage all of your senses in the imagined scene. Feel the texture of objects you hold. Hear the laughter or conversation that surrounds you. Even breathe in the scents that animate the atmosphere. As you replay this multisensory experience day after day, you strengthen the neural pathways that link your conscious intention to your deeper self. It's like building a habit. The more you practice, the more second nature it becomes, until your unconscious mind no longer distinguishes between the rehearsal and living the experience itself. Consistency also protects you from doubt's subtle attacks. On days when you feel discouraged by slow progress, returning to your routine reminds you of the promise you made to yourself. Each session is a vote of confidence. I believe in this vision. Skipping that appointment with your inner world even once betrays your own commitment and weakens your resolve. By honoring your daily practice, you send a clear message, first to yourself, then to the hidden forces that shape reality, that your goal is non-negotiable and will not be sidelined by fleeting emotions or external distractions. Just as athletes track their workouts to maintain discipline, consider keeping a simple journal of your imagination sessions. Note the date, the scene you envisioned, and any emotions or insights that arose. This record serves two purposes. It encourages accountability and it reveals patterns over time. You might discover that certain images resonate more deeply, or that brief pauses yield fresh inspiration. By charting your progress, you transform your practice from a vague intention into a tangible journey, complete with milestones to celebrate. Life will inevitably bring surprises, late nights, unexpected tasks, travel, and gentle flexibility can protect your consistency without sacrificing it. If you miss your morning session, carve out a moment at midday or before bed. If 5 minutes feels like too little on some days, expand to 10. If it feels too much on others, condense to 3. The spirit of the practice lies in persistence, not perfection. Treat every return to your routine as a triumph, no matter how small, and let each success build a scaffolding for your dream. To deepen your commitment, enlist a friend or partner as a creative accountability buddy. Share your intention to practice daily and check in with each other briefly, perhaps via text or a voice note after your session. The simple act of reporting back adds an extra layer of motivation and reminds you that your dream matters not only to you, but to someone who believes in your potential. Together, you create a supportive microcosm that echoes the larger energetic field you're cultivating through imagination. Above all, remember that consistency is the heartbeat of creation. A single brilliant visualization cannot replace the steady drum of daily practice. Each moment you devote to focused imagination is a drop of water that nourishes your internal seed, ensuring it takes root, grows strong, and eventually breaks through into the world of form. As you honor this commitment, you'll find your inner landscape shifting. What once felt like distant possibility becomes an ever-present reality. And the bridge between desire and fulfillment grows shorter with every deliberate step in your daily routine. As you bring together these insights, remember that manifesting is not a one-off act, but a symphony of inner disciplines playing in harmony. By painting your goal with crystal clear detail, you give your subconscious its precise blueprint. By infusing that vision with genuine feeling, you supply the emotional fuel that turns thought into reality. By uncovering and rewriting hidden beliefs, you free your deeper mind, to support your highest aspirations. By revising past disappointments, you clear the soil of old imprints and make room for fresh growth. By curating your mental diet, you protect your creative field from toxic influences and nourish it with possibility. By taming impatience and doubt, you learn to trust the unseen process unfolding on its own timeline. By living in the end, you carry the vibration of fulfillment into every action, aligning your outer world with your inner state. And by practicing these steps with consistent devotion, you build an unshakable bridge between your imagination and the world it reflects. When each of these elements comes together, the barriers that once held you back dissolve, and what once felt elusive becomes the natural extension of who you already are.